Hi there ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Capital A Trading, welcome to another episode of my Forex Weekly. For those of you who are new, who don't know, I'm just going to go through the charts, look at the top 10 investment opportunities for the week and then bring them to you. So if that sounds good, if you trade, if you take investments, hit that subscribe button in the bottom right corner, stay up to date with the channel. There's a lot of exciting content coming from now until the end of the year. Before we get started, I just want to say a quick shout out to my sponsors, the Absolutely magazine. Thank you for all your support. Check out my article. It's on page 127. Right, let's get into it. Let's look at the fundamentals and then get into the charts.
Okay, as always, just important to check the news for the week, see where there's going to be some impact in the charts. I'm not worried about the start of the week, but Wednesday, there'll be the Canadian dollar's interest rate decision. On Thursday, there's a lot of news surrounding the dollar around the New York Open. And of course, Friday, we've got the NFP. So again, it can cause the week to be very slow. And then on Friday, you start to see price just take off and shoot into some crazy zones. So from that, let's get into the charts. First up this week is going to be the Euro USD. Now, basically what I've been seeing here is we've been in a bearish environment pretty much since last summer. We're now back in this area here where the trend would continue from. So if I just come down the time frames, what I'm looking at is this area around the 108, 109 level. Just want to see price interact with my highlighted area and then see what's going to happen from there. Is it going to struggle to go higher than this point? That could be a trading opportunity on the Euro USD around 108 to the 109. Now, of course, there's some news later on in the week that should fuel the US dollar to gain some strength. So what I want to see for the start of this week is just price struggling in this area where my red lines are. Hopefully, if it's still there by, say, Wednesday evening, we can start to really look into taking a trading opportunity. That's the Euro USD. Next up is going to be the Euro NZD and the Pound NZD. These were mentioned in my last Forex Weekly, and they've both started to progress quite well. I mentioned around the 168, 167 level on the Euro NZD. If I just come down, you'll start to see the scenario that I was looking at, that lonesome blue candle in the sea of bearishness. There was that lonesome blue candle, and as you can see, price has come back to it and just basically respected it for the last couple of weeks and now starting to show a sign of a movement to the downside. So regarding this week, I'll just keep an eye on that 167 level. I want to see if price is going to revisit that area and then, of course, make the monstrous move to the downside. Target-wise, at least back towards the 1.6. So let's keep an eye on that one. That's the Euro NZD. With that is the Pound NZD. Now, again, I mentioned this a couple of weeks back around this 197 level to the 196. And very similar to what we've just seen, price has hit the level, started to show signs of struggle, hit that lonesome blue candle, that lonesome bullish candle in the sea of bearishness. And of course, you can see it's now respected it and started to make a movement to the downside. So again, regarding this week, I just want to see price maybe push back towards the 196 and then create that whole new movement again to the downside. Target wise, again, just back towards the 1.9 would be a great move. Keep an eye on them two together. That's the Euro NZD and the Pound NZD. Next up is going to be the NZD Swiss franc and the NZD USD. Both trades that I've called recently, both have had monstrous moves. The NZD USD was a 500 pip move to the downside. NZD Swiss franc, I mentioned this a couple of weeks back around the 65 level. And as you can see, it's made a massive move to the downside. Now, what I'm looking at is that a bearish trend is starting to form where you can see price shooting down and just coming back to an area, shooting down, basically making its way down some steps. So what I'm looking at now is for the next step to happen. And if I just get down onto that 4-hour time frame, there's a piece of price action here around the 63,400 to the 63,200, where it looks like to me, the market makers have done something on the 18th of May, where price was sitting here at this level, then all of a sudden it shoots down just after a New York Open as well and starts to shoot down towards the 62 mark. So what I'm looking at now is price a couple of weeks later is starting to head back towards that area. So again, the key would be to just watch out for the 63,200, 63,400. Let's see what happens when price interacts with this level here. That's going to be the NZD Swiss franc. The next up is the NZD USD. Now, this one to me looks slightly more ready. Now, I mentioned this move a couple of weeks back. I spoke about this area here around the 65,500 to the 66 level. Again, if I just get on that 4-hour time frame, price has now hit the scenario that I wanted to see get interacted with. So I'm now just going to be watching this closely for the start of the week, just to see how much this area gets respected and if there is going to be a move to the downside from here. Keep an eye on them two together. That's the NZD Swiss franc and the NZD USD. Next up is the Euro Pound. Now, again, I mentioned this trade a couple of weeks back on the latest Forex Weekly. And what it was is I wanted to see price interact with the 86 to the 86,500 level. And it was this scenario here. Now, as you can see, if I just place this cursor line on the bottom of this small blue candle here, you can see how price has come back and interacted with that level right here. So they've created a new position. They flushed price down. They've come back to it. And now this area is going to become basically quite key. So keep an eye on the 86 level. Let's give it to the 85,500, just slightly below this time, as I believe a new transaction has been left here. And eventually we're going to see some pound strength where it's going to push to the downside, at least hopefully towards the 82 mark. So a nice, powerful move. Keep an eye on that one. It's going to be the Euro Pound. Okay, this was another one mentioned last week. It's the pound yen. Now, I have been monitoring that 167 level. I feel like price isn't going to get up there for a little while yet. And I feel like there's going to be a few more moves to the downside beforehand. What I mentioned last week was around that 162 to the 163 area. This was the scenario where I could see some market maker play. And of course, it got back to it and just started to make some small movements to the downside. Now, of course, Monday morning, current price action, price is heading back towards this level. So this week, again, I'm just going to watch the 162, 163. I'm aware that it's already been hit into now. So that does make the area a bit weaker. But let's see what happens. Let's see if a new contract is going to be entered in the area. And then hopefully we can start to see that move to the downside. That's going to be the pound yen. Now I'm going to get into the main focuses for the week. That's going to be the AUD Swiss franc and the pound Australian dollar. First up, AUD Swiss franc. I mentioned this a couple of weeks back. I spoke about that 70 level and how I'm clearly seeing signs of struggle. And as you can see, price just continuously keeps hitting into the area and then drop into the downside. If I just get down on the time frames, you can start to see how the trend is starting to turn around and it looks like a bearish environment is about to be created. So all I'm suggesting this week is to just keep an eye on this scenario here around the 69,500 to that 70 level. Let's just see price come again, see what they're going to do, look for that sign of struggle. And then I believe soon the push to the downside is coming. And of course, I'm looking to see price head towards the 65 level, which would be another massive 500 to 450 pip move. So again, just keep an eye on that one. That's going to be the AUD Swiss franc. The last but not least is going to be the pound Australian dollar. Now, I've mentioned this move numerous times. Last week, it got a good shout out on the video. And as you can see, around that 1.78 level, price is continuously sticking and not being able to go higher. If I just get down onto that lower time frame, you can start to see the moves, the power of the moves from this area. This is the scenario that I believe the market makers are stuck to. So they cannot go higher than that 178. Every time it gets there recently, it's just been having massive moves to the downside. And it looks like another one is continuing. There's already been a 200 pip push in this movement here. So all I'm suggesting this week is just to keep an eye on this area. Let's see if price comes again, shows another sign of struggling, and then hopefully we can start to see that push back towards maybe the 172, 173 at least. Again, it will be another massive 500 pip move. Keep an eye on them ones together. That's the AUD Swiss franc and the pound Australian dollar.
Thanks for watching, guys. That's all from me this week. Again, keep an eye on 2 or 3 of the investment opportunities that I've just mentioned. Keep track of them throughout the week and then see how they're going to develop with me. If you want to do that, you can join my Discord. Send me an email to capitalatrading@hotmail.com, request a link, and I'll be happy to send it over to you. If you want to take your trading skills further, check out my website, www.capitalatrading.co.uk, and there's tons of information on there as well. All right, have a great trading week.